Allies and supporters are being asked not to encourage enrollment because they're so afraid the website's going to crash. And if you come during peak time, you will get an email that says when it might be a better time for you to come back later. So it's not clear that 80% of the people who make the attempt are going to be able to be successful. And I think that there are more, problems to come.
Charles Abey kind of cuts to the chase there, talking about these insurance companies don't know whether or not they're going to get reimbursed. Coincidentally, on Black Friday, when private sector companies need to get into the black from the red, yet the insurance companies of America don't know what their financial fate is.
And because the insurers aren't sure what they're going to get and what the premium will be, there's no way to have an accurate rendition of what subsidy the purchaser is going to get either. So all of these numbers are completely uncertain. And this is a marketplace. This is supposed to be a place where a price is quoted, you agree to pay it, and then a subsidy is determined on the basis of it. And none of that is set. So this really is a complete, well, as I said earlier in the week, complete turkey. I mean, as long as the weekend is still here, that I think will be applicable. And here's the worst part. They had announced this when they were in trouble at the end of October as a relaunch, as we're going to have it fixed. There's a tape you showed yesterday of Obama saying it's going to be working the way it was supposed to be working on December the 1st. This is simply another example of an administration that simply not only can't shoot straight, but can't talk straight. Everything they tell you about Obamacare, everyone knows is a fudge or a hedge or a guess or a prayer or an outright deception. And this is another one of those, that's multiple choice, A, B, C, D, or E. You choose which one you want, but it's not the truth.
Is Medicaid kind of a de facto single payer, Charles, the way it's evolving?
Yeah, it is. But what's going to happen is if you add these huge numbers onto the rolls, what you're going to do is do the exact opposite of what had been intended. Because the people currently on Medicare who have trouble getting a doctor and get some care are going to get less or none as a result of the fact that you're diluting the amount of care that the set number of doctors who take it can offer. So it's going to, exactly in the same way that Obamacare is reducing the number of people who have insurance because of the millions who are losing it instead of adding, which was the intent. The people who are going to be added on the Medicare, at least de facto, are going to end up not getting the care and reducing the care that people on it already are getting. So it is, in every way, it is ending up with the opposite effect of what was intended.
Sounds like you're saying in 5 seconds less, this can't work as constructed.
No, it cannot work as constructed.
I would argue this is not so much about the U.S. and China. This is more about the Chinese and Japanese, and frankly, the other regional players. The Philippines, Indonesia, Vietnam, all are now contending that some of the sea areas, some of these islands are theirs. So therefore, the South China Sea and everything in it is at play according to the Chinese. The Chinese want these islands back, and they're starting to move down that pace, down that path.
I think the Chinese approach, the Chinese are not reckless. They want to push. They want to push and test American resolve, and they'll do it continually. They'll withdraw or they'll wait if they get a response, which is probably what's going to happen this time. But it's wrong for anybody to say that a dispute between China on the one hand and Japan and the Philippines, Indonesia and others on the other is not a U.S. affair. Of course it's a U.S. affair. The United States is the guarantor of these allies against the obvious hegemon in the area, which is China. And we patrol the seas around China, and everybody is watching to see whether American resolve at least is going to be strong and steady in the Pacific the way it is not strong and steady in the Persian Gulf and the Mediterranean. Look, just last week, Russia essentially reclaimed Ukraine, and nobody here even noticed. So they have a right to be worried about the resolve of this administration. And I think it did the right thing in sending our bombers over that airspace as a way to say, we're not going to allow you to unilaterally alter the balance of power.
Wall Street Journal had an interesting piece earlier this week, quoting now, big retailers work backwards with their suppliers to set starting prices that after all the markdowns will yield the profit margins they want. The red cardigan sweater with the ruffled neck on sale for more than 40% off at $39.99 was never meant to sell at its $68 starting price. It was designed with the discount built in. Charles, were you out at the mall at 4 o'clock in the morning
No,
today?
but I do enjoy watching the mayhem.
It's on the Black Friday channel.
I'm ready to blame Obama for almost everything, but I'll give him a pass on Black Friday. But one thing I will say is that its encroachment into Thursday, I think, is scandalous, except bookstores.
This has been a Sunfish production.